Welcome to the Tactical Traveler. Guys, today I have for you a very special guest. I have known these two for about a year and a half now, and I'm a spy. I watch them from a distance, and I have seen them do some of the most amazing and crazy stuff with credit card points and travel that you would ever think about doing. As a matter of fact, and I'll have them talk about it here in a second, I believe they went to Japan for I think it was $15 or some insane number. Dave and Lisa, thank you for joining me on the show. I love you guys. I try to bring you on as much as possible because you are far better at the point game than I am. So just welcome to the show. How are you guys doing?
Thank you, John. We're doing good.
Thank you. We're doing great. It's starting to get a little bit warmer here in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, so it's what, 40 now?
Yeah, seriously. We did have it was 80 degrees, and then it was 20. We had all the snow come down, and now it's starting to thaw again. Hopefully we're going to be nice and warm here by July.
Yeah. Now, did I get that right? Did you guys go to Japan for $15 or some crazy number like that?
Yeah, it was like $230, but it was in first class each. So
for $460.
Yes, in first class,
but those,
round trip.
And those flights were supposed to be like $20,000 each.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then that also included your hotel stay, right?
Yeah, our hotels were. Yeah, I don't think we paid for any of the hotels.
I think we paid for one hotel, and it was a really cool hotel. You sleep in a pod.
Oh.
That was like $10.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like sleeping on Mars.
Yeah, I've been to Japan 3 times. I remember when those things became popular. Mm-hmm. So I remember that.
Definitely an experience, that's for sure. Not so good when you have recovering from a broken leg, but all in all, it was pretty good.
Well, that's why you went first class, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, listen, why don't we do this? I've known you guys so long that I kind of know your story. So I'm going to re-ask it because on the Tactical Traveler, I have a brand new audience, a brand new crowd of people who have not had the pleasure of really getting to know you guys. So let me start with this. Where were you 3 years ago on this credit card point journey? And what got you started in the madness that I watch you guys do on a regular basis now?
That is a great question. So 3 years ago, we were probably like a year and a half into our credit card journey. So we actually started about almost 5 years ago now, learning from, ironically, we went to like this credit scores class locally here in Buffalo to learn more about credit scores and finances and different things like that. And someone in the class had told us about, credit cards and being able to travel all around the world on these points and miles. And Dave actually really dove in kind of head first on doing research on what this weird thing called travel hacking was. And I think that just really started our journey for really trying to maximize our spending any way possible, because travel was something we both enjoyed doing, but really couldn't afford.
Yeah, if you go backwards like 3 months, we were sleeping on a friend's floor in Key West because it was too expensive to stay anywhere during spring break.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about you two. So just for the audience, Dave, you're a teacher, and Lisa, what do you do? Because you just switched, right? You were a flight attendant, and then with COVID, that went away, and you're doing something different now, right?
I'm pretty much just running our travel blog now, and we started dabbling a little bit in real estate investing. So I've 100% been self-employed this last year, really focusing on our own businesses.
Yeah, and I think the highlight, though, is it's not like you guys are millionaires.
Oh, yeah. Far from it.
Far from it, right?
Yeah. Just for like retrospect, before that, I was working in a desk job 9 to 5. So I was very similar to like teacher salary, just worked at a local health insurance company.
Didn't you do something with flights, though?
Yeah, I did. I was a flight attendant for a little bit. I haven't flown in a year and a half, probably. So, and I'm not
Right.
sure on the return on that.
Well, I want to really highlight that because, a lot of times I think there's the perception that you have to be spending, tens of thousands of dollars every single month in order to really make the credit card hacking worth it. And you guys are not doing that. You live a very disciplined life. And then you've learned how to maximize your credit cards in such a way to where you can afford these great vacations. You guys did a Western Park tour, very similar to what I did. And I think you paid for the majority of that on points, right?
Yeah, like the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really, we definitely don't spend 10,000 a month. Our bills are not that expensive. It's really just maximizing your everyday spending. Taking a look at your budget, I think most people spend more than you realize. So anytime you go out to eat dinner, grocery shopping, gas in your car, utility bills, like anything that you do, buying clothes, but if you have kids, I'm sure they're involved in many activities, anything for them. So there's so many different things you can spend money on that just reallocating it to a specific credit card to earn those bonus kind of points where you can maximize the value of your just everyday spending.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've paid for everything with credit cards. Everything from a speeding ticket to
our taxes recently
to a doctor's visit, like anything.
Breaking your leg, like really, there's so much. Buying new patio furniture, renovating houses. There's a lot that if you really dig deep, you can find that you probably spend more in a month than you might realize.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. So let's start it this way. What can you not put on your credit cards for points?
That's a great question.
I feel like if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything I can't put on credit cards for points.
Can you put your mortgage on it, your rent?
You could, yeah. There are ways to pay mortgages with your credit card. However, there are typically high percent, like 2% fee, 3% fee, and we don't really advocate for paying that percentage depending on what it's for. So we've never actually paid our mortgage on a credit card. We technically could. I personally don't see the value in it. It could be worth it if you are trying to meet a minimum spend.
Yeah, it's really like dependent upon if you are like in a bind and you're just looking for something to meet that minimum spending requirement. So if you open a new credit card and it's spend $4,000 in 3 months and you spent $3,000 and you don't want to just buy random things, that's when I look at what can I pay ahead of time? Maybe I could prepay some bills if it is the mortgage. I actually recently paid my federal taxes back, and it was like 2.2% fee, but I had opened a new credit card. Anything that helps me meet that minimum spend, I'm going to do that because the return is usually closer to 15 or 20% when you include that bonus.
Wow. Yeah, so in that case, it would totally be worth it. What about your car payment? Is there fees with the car payment or like if you're leasing a vehicle?
I don't know if that's something we've ever looked at, but I think it would kind of be the same thing where it's probably going to depend on the leasing or not mortgage, vehicle company that you have the loan through or the bank. Typically, again, there's that same fee with mortgages, but I think it would be possible essentially.
Yeah, no, it's definitely possible. There's like a handful of bill paying services. One of the most popular ones out there is called Plastic, Elastiq, and that's one that you can pretty much pay anything with a credit card. But again, you're going to get hit with those fees.
Right. So talk about some of the common things that you guys use to kind of rack up these credit card points. And then we'll kind of transition and talk about, I'm a brand new person. I've got an okay credit score. How do I get started in this?
Okay. Yeah, definitely some common things are going to be the everyday groceries, the utility bills, 100%. And for us here in New York, we pay our taxes all separate too on credit cards. So our school tax,
city tax, and county.
Yeah, all the taxes. Pretty much if it's a tax that we have to pay, we're going to pay with a credit card.
Yeah. So I did when we originally bought the house, got the mortgage, I opted out of escrow. So I purposely wanted the bills in the mail so I can pay with a credit card. And then I allocate money every month out of our checking account to pay for that in full once the bill does come.
Mm-hmm. And then some other good hacks have to do with, like, if you have friends or family members that are not into credit card game. I know it's a big shocker that we know people that are not into this, but even like our parents, if they're going to be going and making some big purchases, we'll definitely slide our credit card in there if they're planning on using cash.
Mm-hmm. That's probably my favorite way. And
right?
if you are new to the credit card world, maybe you don't have a very good credit score, your biggest thing that you're going to want to do is raise that up first. So we've helped a lot of friends, family members, and readers in our group to figure out the reason why their score might not be as high. And we can help with different tips and tricks to kind of raise your score first. If you're in debt or you're, not able to pay the bills every month, then this isn't technically for you just yet. But you have a starting point to kind of maybe get out of that debt, raise your credit score, and then you can get into it.
Right. And I was going to put a caveat on this. Listen, if you're the person that goes in and maxes out your card and don't pay it off every month, this is not a good plan for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Talk to me about that, because there's actually a strategy with that, right? I've read you guys' stuff, and like when you're looking at the percentages, if you don't actually pay the card off, talk a little bit about that with us.
So if you're not paying the card off every month and you're kind of paying interest, it really is negating any of the savings that you would be getting from travel hacking and utilizing those points.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to carry balances. You don't want to carry balances, or you don't want to carry high balances, because then you just lose all your points and miles that you just earned. You're kind of giving it right back to the banks. So it's like a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, because if you're earning, on average, what do you think you're earning per dollar spent in points?
Oh man, I'd say between 3 and 5x, or 3 and 5% on average.
So, yeah, and interest, if you're not paying off your credit card, is probably, it depends on how good your credit is, but is at least 8%, right?
Oh yeah, I'm saying like 15 to 20%, right? Like,
yeah,
way higher.
High. I thought it was more 15 to 20, but I was like, well, maybe it's lower, but even at 8%, you're actually losing at that point 5% if you're not paying off your card. Exactly. So it's kind of like, why Dave Ramsey kind of is totally against credit cards. So you really do need discipline like you guys have to do the right thing to maximize the benefit of it.
Absolutely. But if there's, if you happen to have, let's say something crazy happens in your life, like for us, we had these 2 giant trees that had to go down, and we're like, oh boy, like this is going to cost us an arm and a leg. But instead of like fretting about it and being really annoyed that we're going to have to go into our savings to pay for this, we decided to make it a positive and opened up a new credit card, the Hyatt card, and ended up, I think we earned about 15 or 20 nights in points. This was last summer. And, the tree had to come down regardless, but we were able to pay for that with a credit card and, get a bunch of free nights from Hyatt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got a question about that, because I was actually just sharing this with a buddy of mine, and my experience probably soured me a little bit just because I was young as far as travel goes. I mean, I was still traveling a lot, but I didn't understand travel hacking, and sure did not understand the credit card point game. But I was contracting for the government, I had 9 guys with me. We flew up to West Point, New York. We stayed up there for a month, and everybody got their own hotel room, and I paid for everybody's hotel room. And so it ended up costing me like 25 grand for a month of hotels for 8 rooms, right?
Wow.
And by the time I was done, I got like freaking 8 nights out of the thing. I was so pissed,
Wow.
you know, like, and I, looking back, I didn't do it on a credit card. I think I just did it on my debit card. And I had Hilton reward points, but it just really left a bad taste in my mouth, because I could only use it at Hilton, and I only got, because you're 25,000. So you're looking at, you get like a cent per dollar or something,
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it might even have been less because it was a debit card, So talk to me about what if you were in that situation as a contractor, because I actually know a ton of military contractors, and you had to dump $25,000 on a card that you were going to pay off in 30 days, because that's when the government pays you. What would that look like in points for vacation wise?
There's so many different strategies you can do with that, especially with that high of a spending. So first I would figure out a strategy of different cards to open. You could either split up. I would probably split up the expenses on different cards, because a lot of the bonuses they have are something like earn 80,000 points after spending 4,000 in 3 months. So if you're going to be able to spend that super fast, you might be able to strategize with a couple cards, or you could go for a business card. Since you are a contractor, you would qualify as like a 1099 kind of position, and open a business card where they usually have a higher spend limit with higher points allocation. So it could be like a $15,000 spend for 100,000 points. How many nights you would get? You would have substantially more than 8, I would say, hotel nights.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely, you could stay at a Hyatt for 5,000 points a night on the low end. So think about even just 25,000 Hyatt points. I guess that's 5 nights, but there's just so many ways to slice $25,000. Like I personally would try to open up 5 credit cards.
And
on
split
average,
it up each one of them.
Yeah, totally. Because each credit card, on average, like a new credit card welcome offer will require around $5,000 in spend to get that bonus. So you would make out, let's say on average, you're getting $500 for each one of those. That's like good money right there.
Yeah. So if you go with our Hyatt Tree example from last year, we had one credit card spend, and it equated to I believe it was 17 hotel nights. So if you did that 5 times, that's almost 100, right?
True.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to slice the cake. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of ways to do that. Now, have you guys read a lot about the Chase Gauntlet? And like, I'm a brand new credit card, kind of want to do the hacking deal. What would you say is the best strategy? Is it to follow that Chase Gauntlet? Or, how would you guys advise somebody and tell everybody what the Chase Gauntlet is?
It's a great question. I guess this piggybacks off the last question too. If I were going to go down the list as a brand new person, I would just start at the top of the Chase cards, the top Chase cards, and work my way down the gauntlet. Because I do still believe, and have believed, at least for the last 4 years since the Chase Sapphire Reserve came out, that the gauntlet is the way to go. And what that means, essentially, there's this rule that Chase had put in place where you can't open any of their cards if you've opened more than 5 or more cards in the last 24 months with any bank. So it is advantageous to take advantage of the Chase offers first before moving on to any other banks. The second factor that's really important is that the most lucrative points in the game really are those Chase Ultimate Rewards points. And you can take those points and use them for pretty much anything. You could transfer them to different partners like Hyatt, Southwest, United, Marriott. You could use them for rental cars or hotels through their portal. You could get crazy and cash them out for groceries and home improvement at 1.5 cents per point. So there's a lot of options to use those points with. So they're so valuable, and you could earn those points on so many different credit cards under the Chase umbrella.
Right. So, okay. Chase Gauntlet is basically, there's 5 of these Chase cards that are the most sought after travel cards. So you get those 5, you max out your kind of rewards, and then you move on. So because Dave, I remember you telling me at one point, but how many credit cards have you had or do have again?
Oh, I was counting the other day. I think between Lisa and I, we're over 100. I think I'm at like 51, not currently opened. Like I've closed about 30 of those.
But that's in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And before that, I know it's so crazy to think about how fast it adds up. But before that, I had only had, I think, 2 credit cards. It's actually super ironic because when I was 18, I had saved up all this money, like $1,000. I was going to buy a brand new big screen TV on Black Friday at Sears. I went down there the day before, scoped it out, and I got talked into opening a credit card for 0% for 12 months and taking like $100 off of the sticker price. So at 18, I'm like, awesome. Like, you're saying I get to save my money and not actually use it right now for this TV and get to buy other stuff instead. So, you probably already can guess where this story is going. I got the TV, spent the money on video games and I don't even know, pizza. And 12 months later, I had no money left over to pay for this TV. So my 0% credit card had run out, and they ended up charging me like some astronomical interest. Like I got hit with some sort of crazy fees, and this is 15 years ago. And they ended up like tripling the price that I would have paid for the TV if I would have just bought it the day that I had planned on buying it. So I decided not to pay it because I was being real stubborn, and I felt like they put one past me. So I didn't pay it, and life went on for about 7 years, and I finally got a call from a debt collector. My credit was ruined, and I ended up settling and then slowly built back my credit. And I opened up one American Express card, and that was the only card I could get. And I had it for a number of years. And then fast forward to 5 years ago, and we're sitting in that class talking about credit scores. You can imagine how apprehensive I was after all that I had been through to build my credit back up from scratch, after I had destroyed it. So I certainly did my due diligence on this whole crazy travel hacking world. And, I'm very careful about, what we spend our money on, and, making sure that I'm not getting, taken advantage of by the banks or, kind of falling into one of those traps.
On average, how many credit cards would you say you get a year?
Great question. I think I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. When I first got out of the gate, I was, oh my God, I had opened up like 12 or 13 in that first year. It was crazy.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably about the same.
Yeah, there was days I was coming home. I would like open one on like a bathroom break at work, and I come home and open 2 more. Like I was just opening cards left and right. That's actually like, if I could go back in time, I would have been a little bit more strategic, because I was just opening cards. I really saw the light and understood the value that you can accumulate from, those welcome offers.
So you're doing, now is that 6 cards for you and 6 cards for Lisa, or 6 for the both of you?
Each. And I think I'm already up to 3 this year. So I'm sure I'll be at 6 by the end of the year, or maybe more this year. We have a lot of wedding expenses and honeymoon that we're planning for, so I'm sure we'll throw in a couple more before that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, so after you get the bonus, you pretty much shut that card down and move to the next card, right?
Yeah, most likely. I don't know. There's definitely some reoccurring benefits for some of the cards that you could certainly squeeze some value out of. Like,
Yeah,
for
like
example, Yep, yep. You read my mind. Chase Freedom with the rotating 5X categories and some of the cards that have some of the great benefits like lounge access or the travel insurance, the rental car coverage. So I'll definitely keep them around, but we have a pretty big, if you imagine a business card holder with all the different pages of business cards, we have a huge one of those for just our credit cards.
crazy. All right.
We'll
Using the
send you an
credit card.
Amazon link if you really want to see it.
Right. Yeah, right. Oh my God. So how many vacations have you guys been able to take for, let's say, less than $500 to premium destinations through these strategies?
We usually go on because I have the school schedule, so most of ours usually are like lumped within those breaks. So I would say we usually do our tradition since we got into this is to do tropical holidays during the cold months here in the northeastern United States because it is really cold. So we typically will go on a trip for Thanksgiving and for Christmas somewhere to like a Caribbean island, and that's always using points of miles. And then I have a spring break, and we'll usually try to go somewhere that's like not super far, but somewhere that's also not in the continental United States. So we've gone to like Iceland and Finland one year. We went to the Galapagos Islands. Hawaii was one of the years. And then the big trip is always the summer one. And that's usually 7 to 8 weeks. And we try to go to as many countries as we can fit in without, cramming too much together. Our last big one before the pandemic was Japan, the Philippines, and Singapore. And that was, just an awesome trip.
So you're telling me that you'll do 7 to 8 weeks for less than $500?
Ooh, less than $500. I mean, if we really, we also save up some money via bank account bonuses to help subsidize the costs. I would say $500. I mean, if we were really frugal, I bet we could pull it off. But we also do like to live a little bit,
yeah,
on those trips.
So, if you want to know like kind of the numbers, not 2020, but 2018 and 2019, I kind of did an overall breakdown of the year of how many points we used, how many countries we visited, how much we paid for that whole year in travel for our flights and hotels. And 2019, we went to 7 countries. It was 80 nights of hotels, so that's almost 3 months of hotels. And we should have spent about $70,000, but we only spent $5,000. So that was for both of us for all of those trips. However many weeks of travel that is.
That's insane, Lisa.
Yeah. And I think we've gotten better at it, but we've also gotten a little more bougie, I guess you could say, where we like to have the finer things. We wanted to test out first class flights. We're staying in a little bit higher end hotels, but there's definitely, I've written reviews, or we both have written reviews of trips you could take to Mexico or in the Caribbean, and those, I think we did Costa Rica for $800. Our very first travel hacking trip, and that was for both of us, so less than $400 a person. But we have plenty of reviews of kind of like you can open these 2 credit cards, and this is the type of trip you can take, and it for your hotels and flights, definitely less than $500.
Yeah, those are the cheaper the cheaper aspect of travel for us are definitely the flights and hotels because we have so many points. What really costs money are the excursions. And that's really where, because we want to do all the cool stuff, right? Like I want to, fly in the helicopter over the volcano, and we slept in a glass igloo in Finland, and rode snowmobiles at midnight chasing the northern lights, like stuff like that. I love to do things like that.
So is it that you can't pay for the excursion with points usually?
Not directly, and if you can, you could do some of the banks have portals that have experiences, but the value is often not great.
Yeah, way over. Yeah.
Exactly.
I've actually seen that on the credit card portals where I've had, I don't do the credit card hacking like you guys do. I just do travel hacks, right? And I've told people that if you're going to use your points, that's one thing, but you should actually not purchase through your credit card unless you're using points because it's significantly marked up is what I've seen.
Yeah, 100%. It is significantly marked up.
Yeah. So, and this might be a biased question. You might not be able to answer this, but what's the best credit card on the market right now for somebody to get? Let's say they got perfect credit. They could get any card they want. What would you tell them to get?
Chase Sapphire Preferred. It has an 80,000 welcome offer, which is the highest that it's been. And that will be worth at least $1,000 in travel through the portal, or if you wanted to cash it out for groceries and or home improvement services. But that's the best card. You could transfer those 80,000 points to Southwest. You could transfer them to United and pretty much fly anywhere round trip in the world. Like, you can't beat that value.
Yeah, and that's just a $4,000 spending requirement in 3 months. So that's like we both love that card.
Mm-hmm.
So you would say that Chase has surpassed American Express?
Yeah, I'd say so, especially for someone just starting out. I think it's kind of, if somebody was starting out looking for, let's say, all of the bells and the whistles, and they wanted like the most premium, best card on the market, then I would say that Platinum, if they could find a targeted 100,000 or 125,000 points with the 10x points bonus on grocery stores for the first 6 months. I mean, that's a killer offer, but it's also about a $600 annual fee. A lot of people aren't really traveling all that much to take advantage of some of the bells and whistles that come with it. So the other card just makes a whole lot more sense.
Right. Yeah. So they actually have a deal, or they did. I don't know if they still do, but if you're a veteran or a disabled veteran or active duty, American Express waives that fee.
Mm-hmm. They still have it, and that's a great option for folks who are have military in their backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, yeah, because I've got a couple of podcasts that I listen to that really promote heavily that Chase Gauntlet, and then they go into the American Express, and then after that they're like, hey, just get whatever you want, that's got good point structure, right? Mm-hmm. What's the highest points you've ever seen?
Highest points that we've ever seen?
Isn't it the Amex?
I'd say probably that Platinum 125,000 with that 10x opportunity. I mean, that is just killer if you're able to spend, depending on what your budget looks like for groceries over a 6-month time span. If you can maximize that is huge. It's like,
what's the 10x?
It's 10x on groceries up to $15,000 spend for the first 6 months. So if you were able to maximize that plus the 125 or 150,000 point welcome offer, I mean, that's a ton of membership awards points.
Mm-hmm.
So you get up to $15,000 and then you 10x your points on it. So instead of getting, 2 cents to the dollar, well, I think it's 5 cents per dollar on groceries, right?
The Platinum,
4. Is it 4x?
4.
The Gold is 4.
So instead of getting 4 cents, you were getting 40 cents?
Yeah, 10x, so 10.
Yeah, so 4 times 40. Or 4 times 10. So you're getting 40 points per dollar?
Well, no, it's not on top of, it was 10x total.
Oh,
So
so
it,
9 cents extra.
yeah. So normally you would get 1x on everything, but on this special promotion you get 10x. So it's like 9 extra points on addition to that 1x point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're really talking about almost another 100,000 points.
Right.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
cow!
Yeah.
So that's
But
crazy.
now listen, I got 4 kids and I got a couple of adults that hang around too much, and $15,000 in groceries over a year is I don't know if they're feeding an NFL team or I mean that's a lot of feeding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seriously. But I don't know. Even if you did half of it, right? Like it's a huge.
I just talk to all my neighbors and do their grocery shopping for them.
Right. Well, if you really break it down, that's a little more than $1,000 a month. It's not that unrealistic for a year of spending, 15,000.
Depends what you're eating.
Right. And with 4 kids, I mean, I don't know. I think, I don't know how
I
much
never
you spend
spend
on
that much.
groceries.
Like,
Okay,
good
well,
Lord.
yeah. Yeah, but I would do the same thing. I've actually seen people at the cash register paying in cash, and I have yet to do it, but I'm sure the day will come where I offer to pay with my credit card and they give me the money. It will happen at some point, but that's like I cringe when I see the cash being pulled out and I really want to do it, but I haven't offered yet, and I don't know why.
So I won't bring up his name, but it's so funny you guys bring that up because so I had a very good friend of mine that was very, very well off as a professional fighter. And there was like 40 of us at lunch with him because he was a champion and we were all hanging out with him. And they were about to start bringing the checks out. And he goes, "Hey guys, just real quick, how many of you are paying with cash today?" And this is before Cash App, before, any of that kind of stuff. And quite a few of them raised their hand and he goes, "I'll tell you what, why don't you just give me the cash and I'll pay for it on my card?" And I was looking at him and I was like, why would you do that? In my head. So we get in the car and I was his host. So he hops in the car and I'm like, "Hey bro, what's up with that?" He goes, "Oh, because at the end of the year, I'm going to turn this receipt into the tax accountant. I got cash, but I paid for everybody's meal. So it's a larger deduction for me." And really what you guys are doing is the same thing, just not on taxes.
Right.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, that's actually a double win right there. Because if it's a meeting or, if it's a taxable meeting, like a business expense, that's huge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. Yeah. And I was just looking at him. I'm like, I never really thought about that.
I know, that's great.
Yeah. So, and I had interviewed you guys after COVID hit on my YouTube channel. When we talked the last time, COVID hadn't really hurt you any in what you were doing with the credit card points. And Dave, I think you mentioned that it actually helped you get a little further ahead. Could you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, really, what was unique about the COVID time is that the banks still know that people are spending, right? Like people still have to buy things. They just had pivoted to reward people and really fight for the business that people were spending on. So the banks really ramped up hardcore the sort of bonus points that they were offering for groceries and home improvement and dining. Really, those were the big 3. And pretty much all of the major banks were just throwing out points like candy, essentially. Like they were throwing crazy denominations. There was a point last year that I think it was the Amex Surpass card or the Spire. They had like a 15x bonus on groceries, like the month of July. Like they had some crazy offers. So we were just kind of going through all of our cards, some of the cards that we haven't used in months, and really just maximizing that any way we could.
Right. And you start getting, multiple cards with multiple points. You just pay for different sections of your trip on one card's points, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's really easy. Most of the points you can combine, especially if you're in the same household with somebody. But even if you're not, Hilton makes it really easy to pool points. JetBlue, you can pool points. There's a ton of them, ton of the programs that allow you to pool or transfer directly to somebody, like city thank you points you could transfer to somebody, up to 100,000 a year. The Chase Ultimate Rewards points you could transfer if you're in the same household. And Amex MR a little bit more tricky. If you add somebody as an authorized user, they could transfer those points into like your frequent flyer accounts. So there's a lot of different strategy points.
Now, what would you say, if any, is the difference between a business credit card and a personal credit card?
So I think a misconception about business credit cards is that you have to be a multimillionaire business to have one, and that's just not true. So you can have a business credit card as a sole proprietor, which means you sell stuff online, you drive for Uber, you make a craft and sell it. There's so many different things that actually qualify people for a business credit card, and what they're actually really great for is keeping your business and personal expenses separate. Besides that regard, though, there's no real big difference between the credit cards and the points that you can kind of earn. So there's Chase business cards, there's Amex business cards, and the points still earn, like Chase business cards earn Chase Ultimate Reward points, and Amex business cards can earn Amex membership reward points. And you can combine your business and personal points for personal use.
Yeah, because the points aren't taxable. I think it was you guys' group. I just saw this article, or maybe Dave posted it, where some guy got over on the IRS.
Yeah. I know that. I'm hoping that we can reap these rewards and not have to shake hands with Uncle Sam for many more years to come.
Well, right now that's pretty much stayed consistent, whether it's credit card points or just hotel points. The only time I've seen it is when you actually win a trip. I don't know if I was talking to you guys when I won the trip to Ireland, but they taxed me on that trip. But outside of that, I got a W-9 for it. It counted as income. So, it wasn't too bad. So, I won a free trip to Ireland, so for 11 days, so cool.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
What is the best way for somebody to get in touch with you guys? I know you have a blog. I know you have a Facebook group. Just tell me what those are real quick.
Sure. Our travel blog is basictravelcouple.com, and our Facebook group is Basic Travel 101 Points, Miles, and More. And then we're pretty much on all other social media. We're on Instagram.
Pretty much everywhere at Basic Travel Couple.
Yeah, the only one that's different is Twitter, and it's Basic Trav, TRAV Couple, because they limited us on our words.
Right. Yeah, sometimes that happens. I had to do that on Instagram, Tactical Traveler. I had to leave out the second E. So, or the first E. Yeah, the first E. The only E. Had to leave that out for some reason. I don't know if somebody had it but I didn't see nobody with it. It just wouldn't let me do it for some reason. So I get that. Man, I always love talking to you guys. You're a wealth of information. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing that with people and giving us the ability to connect with you guys, because you have free ebooks and free all kinds of stuff that people can get to start really learning how to play this game. And it's such an important game too. So I just love talking to you guys, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us. We love talking with you too. And I will say we're coming out with a course. If someone isn't too into an ebook, I'm working on creating a course that's kind of like a YouTube-ish type video that will be launching June 1st.
Nice. So June 1st. So this episode will come out after that. But
okay.
So what I might do is I might bump this one up so that it comes out the week before you guys release the course. Now, how much is that course going to cost?
I think we might do like a pre-launch for $99, and then after that, I believe $129 is what we'll probably do.
Will people be able to get points for it?
course.
Oh, yes, of course.
That's a
Of
prerequisite.
course they will.
Great. And what's that course going to be called?
You know, I'm going back and forth on that, so to be determined on that course name.
Okay, cool.
But it will be the basics of travel hacking, so something along that to get your first like dream trip.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.